We are going to study about sliding friction and rolling friction. So today's class we will explore which is greater, sliding friction or rolling friction. Also we will try to see how this sliding friction and rolling friction varies with mass. To do this experiment we are going to use Vernier LabQuest. So this is the digital data logger which interacts with various sensors. To interact with various sensors it has got various ports through which these sensors interact, and this helps us to get a graphical analysis and a data analysis which helps us to understand whether sliding friction or a rolling friction values and to understand which is greater. So along with this we are going to use dual force sensor. This is called dual force sensor because we can switch over this particular sensor value to higher force 50 Newton range or to a 10 Newton range based on the activity you do. For a higher force applied activities you can change the range to 50 Newton, and in a lower force applied experiments you can switch over to 10 Newton. In this particular experiment we will be applying force which is limited to 10 Newton. So here I have got a wooden block which will be used as the object. We will be using some cylindrical sticks which will help us to experiment based on rolling friction. So now I'll fix this dual force sensor into one of the ports. So once I have put into the sensor port, it has started to detect, Vernier has started to detect the dual force sensor. So here you can see the force value coming up. Now before starting this experiment, I need to set this value to 0. So after setting the value to 0, I will be fixing this particular force sensor to this block. So after fixing that, I will once again ensure that the value is 0 and I will start my experiment by clicking on the start button. And I will start dragging the wooden box. After a while, I will stop the readings. This would be the graph which I will get. This is the start button. Once I start, it becomes red and I will click on it to stop, and during this experiment, whatever is the graph, I will be getting this. So during the major part of the experiment where a force has been applied, we need to select that area using the stylus. Go to analyze, there is something called statistics, click on statistics and force, it will give you the mean value for the activity. That is, the force applied on this wooden block is 1.912 Newton. So this is the sliding friction. So there is a friction which is acting in the opposite direction, there is an applied force, and the net force which is acting in the direction of motion is 1.912. So let's see what would be the net force in case of rolling friction. So I will be placing this cylindrical rods at equal distance. I will place this wooden block over it. Now I will go to this particular screen. There is a button which enables me to start a fresh run. So I have taken a fresh screen. This is the start button. So I will be hooking the force sensor to it, and I will be clicking on the start button here. So that means the experiment starts. I have stopped the experiment. So I will again select the major part of the graph, go to analyze, go to statistics and press force. I will get the value. Now the net force which is acting in the direction of motion is 0.057 Newton. So which is far less than the sliding friction. So that means sliding friction is more than the rolling friction is far less than the sliding friction, and the sliding friction is always on the higher side. see how these two frictional values depend on the mass. Bringing in another body which will be placed over this wooden block. So now the mass of the entire setup has increased. Now let us see how the frictional value varies. The sliding friction varies with mass. So I am taking up another run now. I will go to run 3, the third run. I will fix my force sensor onto this. Click on the start button and I will drag this setup. After a while, I will stop the experiment. Again, I will select the area, major area of the experiment. Select analyze, go to statistics, click on force. So here the net force I have got is 3.359 Newton. But in case of single wooden block, I got 1.9 Newton. So this is almost double the value. So that means with the mass, the static friction value also increases. So let's see whether in case of rolling friction too, is it true. So I am placing this 4 cylindrical rods, placing this setup over it. Again, I am taking up run 4 now. I will fix my force sensor onto the setup and I am going to start the experiment. After a while I stop it. I will select the major area, go to analyze, statistics, force. Value I got is 0.107 Newton. Last time the value I got is 0.05 Newton. So this shows even in case of rolling friction, as the mass increases, the frictional value increases. So with this, all the quantities which we wanted to analyze has been proven. So we know that static friction is always more than rolling friction. Both static friction and rolling friction depends on the mass of the substance. Thank you.